Okay. Kate Mila Falcha, welcome to Irish Granny Tarot. And the moment is here, the moment that everybody has been clamoring for. I cannot tell you how many people have gotten in touch with me begging for this guest to return and finish the story I didn't let her finish. So welcome back to Heather Mae, who is gracious enough to come and take us all out of our suspense. It's like the perils of Pauline. We're hanging off the cliff. We're waiting to hear. let me preface this, and then I promise I'm going to shut up. Okay. I found Heather Mae talking about her near-death experience on a rather brief YouTube video, about 20 minutes or so.
Right.
And got in touch and asked her if she'd come and speak. And she was good enough to do that. And we started talking. And I realized, you're young. Why did you die? What happened to you? Because, medical background, I had to know. Her story is unbelievable. And if you want to know the details, go back and watch her part 1. And now she's going to tell us all about the actual near-death experience, beginning to end. I'm going to write my questions down because I can take a note from people. Going to write questions down and let her run with the story. But before we start, Heather, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Helen, Irish Granny.
You look fabulous, darling. You look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you very much to, it's so full of grace even to be able to share this with you and your viewers, and it is a heck of an experience, but also I really hope that we have the time to talk about never mind it being an evolution of understanding, which took a long time, but it was the healing process, which was, really rough, really, really, truly rough, and I know a lot of people just kind of figured, oh, you had a near-death experience and everything was good after that. Well, no, that was a portion of it. Then, the rest of it had to happen. And that was the healing process on, from the car accident to the deep vein thrombosis to 9 massive pulmonary emboli to no oxygen to the brain for 8 minutes and 57 seconds, damage to the lungs, damage to the heart, damage to the legs, damage to the brain. There was so much going on, and I did lose my career. I was the main bread earner. Of course, I was a single mom. I'm engaged at the time, and I newspaper editor. So my diagnosis was I'd never work again. I'd be on oxygen forever. I'd probably need a pacemaker in a couple of years. I may have my legs amputated. The prognosis wasn't good moving forward, and my whole thing was, because I'm tenacious and I'm stubborn as hell. So my whole thing was, I'm going to prove them wrong. But that really did take a lot of work. Plus, on top of that, I had to come back and I call them facing my dragons, to recognize that I had so much unexpressed, unworked through trauma, emotional trauma and psychological, mental abuse and trauma. There was just a lot to work through, and it took years. All up, it took 10 years.
Well, I do have one question, and if this is too personal, before we start, this is too personal, you don't have to answer it. But I can't tell you how many people have asked me to ask you,
did I marry him?
What happened with a boyfriend?
Yeah, well, I knew that one was coming up, and that alone is, if you have never experienced that level of, never mind a health crisis, I don't even think there's a big enough word for it, to be quite frank with you. Every moment of every day was survival. To get through a day took more energy than I actually had. I slept most of the time. Did I end up staying with him? Yes. Did I marry him? Yes, I did. Was it hell on earth after? After the marriage, after the ring went on the finger, it sure as heck was. You know, I also have a big history of extraordinary abuse. So you kind of
Yeah.
and what you don't recognize. And for myself, there's psychological abuse and what we call nowadays, we call it gaslighting and everything else. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know the circle of abuse. What I knew is when you're physically being assaulted, that's abuse. And that's what I knew. I didn't know the rest of it. And my self-esteem was so far down in the ground. I can't even begin. I had to search for it, because it really wasn't in existence, because if you really think about it, and I had to work with it, even with the fact that I was sitting there having heart attack after heart attack at my grandparents and then at my father's when I visited for the first time since I was 14, and I'm in my latter 20s now. So I
Now,
didn't
is
have,
this after the car accident and right before the NDE? So this is when you
yeah.
were developing the blood clots. You went to visit your father for the first time. How come I didn't make the 2+2 and get the, of course?
Right.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about it. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the after. So the car accident, because my seatbelt wasn't working, okay? Seatbelt wasn't working. I ate the dash literally. Like, fake tooth I have. Anyways, couldn't feel my face. I never had a migraine in my life. Even the concussion was just unbelievable. My legs, the blood, yeah, my legs were so buggered. They were black for the longest time, black, never mind bruised, they were black, but nobody pieced together that might turn into blood clots. Nobody pieced that together. What did I know? I'm 28. What do I know? Not much. So
Most
anyway,
people don't, like we talked, before we started recording. Most people really
no.
don't know the basics. Yeah.
No, definitely not. And all I did know was I was an avid cyclist. I did, 10 miles every single day, every single day. And so by time that happened in late December, so by time we hit February, I'm already having Charlie horses and stuff like that, right? But by time I would get out on my bike as early as I could, even if there was still snow around.
Snow. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had my legs bothered me very, very badly. And I would limp around. To be honest with you, cycling was a little bit easier than walking or standing, I'll tell you that. But nobody, yeah, nobody really made the connection when they were confused with the fact that I had afterwards by July that I had all these massive pulmonary embolism. I knew why I had it. I told them after. I said, look, I was in a really bad car accident in December. It took a long time to heal from that. Here we are now at the end of, July, mid July. And I said, I'm not surprised that it happened because my legs were black and they were black from the top down. Black.
Is this the medical professionals didn't make the connection? Oh, you're kidding me.
No, they didn't.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I was really quite surprised with that because they did not make the connection. And even though I kept saying what the connection was, they kept insisting that I had factor 5, which is genetic thickening of the blood. Your blood's thicker than normal.
Clotting. Yeah, it's a clotting
Yeah,
disorder.
clotting
Yeah.
time. Yeah, and I never felt that I had that. I just really felt it was all from the car accident. But at any rate, so yeah, I had all those heart attacks because my grandparents didn't know me. I didn't know them. My father didn't really know me. I didn't really know him. I was, the time period that I was with my family, um, we were just told to suck it up and not be a baby. Don't complain, don't, you know, We don't want to hear that you're sick. I was one of those children that came in. I was sick all the time. And it would frustrate and really, irritate my parents beyond belief. And so I just learned to be quiet. Just learn to be quiet and suck it up and move through the pain and don't talk about it. So while I was having the heart attacks, that's why I didn't say. I didn't say.
I just could talk for 10 hours about the connection between your physical problems as a child and neglect and abuse, and then the heart attacks and the visit to
Yeah.
the family. Chicken and the egg is all
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
Precisely.
Unbelievable. And so synchronistic, as I told you, the book I'm reading right now.
Yes.
You are blowing my mind. I can't.
Well, but that's really how it works. Really, really how it works, I mean, everything is stored. Everything is stored within the body, and eventually, from my near-death experience, one of the things that I was shown that I haven't had the opportunity to talk about is that it's almost like when things sit for so long, we kind of turn on this switch that, will create a disorder or a disease. And if something sits for too long and that real stagnant energy that sits there, the unprocessed emotional trauma that had happened, we kind of stuff it. And I guess I'll put it in my chest and maybe I'll put it in my stomach. And eventually I'll have Crohn's or IBS it just, it just goes on and on. And is it 100% each and every time? Well, no, not necessarily. Some people, come in, that's a whole different topic, but anyways, come in with things. But for myself, it was very, very true. I didn't see the sweetness in life. I really didn't. No, definitely not, so when I had, all those heart attacks, mom was the word. Did not want to raise alarm with the family. I was visiting with family that I hadn't seen. Some of them I hadn't seen since I was 9. So we're all sitting around this big table having a kumbaya kind of thing. And I'm sitting there feeling like horrible garbage. A lot of
dying, literally dying. Yeah.
And so I didn't say. I didn't want to say. I didn't say. I didn't want to cause attention to come my way. I didn't want to raise attention. I didn't want to raise concern. What if I was wrong? That was a big thing for me. What if I was wrong? And so I didn't dare.
I think a lot of people who have little children can relate to this in a smaller way. Your kid gets sick in the middle of the night and it seems like this is really bad, and the first question you ask yourself is, should I call the doctor or am I overreacting?
Right.
It's just that uncertainty, not wanting to make a big fuss and look like the neurotic mother, not wanting to make a big fuss and look like the hypochondriac, right? Or dare I say it, bring up the fact that you don't feel well and revisit the dynamic from your childhood.
Exactly.
Right? In spades. Oh my God. Right?
In spades, absolutely. And so, of course, the partners that I chose reflected my pattern and belief structure about myself. Yeah. So when you feel like you're not deserving or that you have, self-esteem that's kind of gone underground a long time ago, you choose partners that are going to bring that forward. Either they're going to be the messenger as a teaching opportunity, or you'll just continue coasting until.
Well, in the same way that children who are acting out would rather have negative attention instead of no attention at all. People who've been through trauma that has taught them a lack of self-worth, repeat that. It's the comfort of what the familiar.
Well, the devil,
Exactly. Yeah.
It really is. It truly is, so it's the devil I knew, or, the belief at the time when I had looked backwards after my NDE that I actually had was that those situations I felt I had a knowing of how to manage, deal, survive,
Familiar.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then it was the other side of things, you know, that if the person was extraordinarily nice and gentle, well, what does that mean? I didn't know that that was going into the unknown zone, you know. So, and then it's again, it's about the deserving. Well, what do you deserve? Do you deserve somebody's kindness and gentle and, you know, to really actually experience love? Well, I didn't think so.
And a lot of this, it's subconscious. It's more on a DNA level, that not just DNA, it's a
Mhm.
spiritual level, but
Yeah.
it's not, you're not thinking about, you're not telling yourself, well, I don't deserve the good. No, this just
No.
happens
It
seemingly in a
happens.
vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're kind of it's kind of like, sleepwalking in a sense. You know, it's kinda like you're sleepwalking and you don't know, why did you choose this person? Why did you, you know, do this? Even to recognize that it's a pattern can take, well, for some, it can take almost a lifetime, and for others, it can take, well, an NDE, you know, an NDE to come about, you know, to really start, having, uh, to take the blinders off,
Yeah.
to really see a
In
bigger
this
picture.
book, that I won't belabor it too much because I'm going to cover it later, but this book that I'm reading is specifically talking about a patient that he had. This is a psychiatrist who came to him with troubling behavior.
Mm.
And after 3 months of therapy, she started having eyesight problems. And he
Oh,
thought, oh, this is a conversion reaction, right? So, which is you get physical symptoms from an emotional problem
yeah, yeah.
unaddressed. So, sends her to an eye doctor just to be careful. Turns out she has an autoimmune disorder that's destroying her eyesight. But he was horrified because it was the third patient in a row in that short period of time from the beginning of the
Mm,
year to this event that had come in with a history of familial abuse, you know,
absolutely.
the kind of abuse I'm talking about that YouTube doesn't like us to say out loud.
That's right.
And each of those individuals had trouble, came for therapy, and developed autoimmune disorders. And they did intensive autoimmune research on them specifically. Then they did studies and they discovered that people harboring that type of abuse, it alters the actual cellular function of their immunological systems in
It
in a predictable way.
because it gets
Wow.
right down into that, DNA level, and
Yeah,
then those switches start getting turned on,
right.
right? Yeah,
And it's autoimmune. The body starts attacking itself.
yeah,
The person attacking me is gone, but I need to be attacked. So it's just
yeah.
remarkable how complex we are, you know.
We
So
are.
let's get down to the moment of truth. You start wherever you want, and I'm not going to say a word. If it looks like I'm not paying attention, it's because I'm writing down a question. I want to show you my paper. I usually have an average of 5 pages of questions for people I have conversations with. Empty paper. So
Oh,
I'm not going to say anything. So go for it. Tell us what happened.
oh, okay. So with the first interview we had, forgive me, I kind of thought I did talk about it, but I mean, I can
I
start
think people want just why don't we do this? Because it's been a while. Why
quantify.
don't you start at the point where you're unconscious?
Okay, so no ambulance, obviously. Um, Stuffed in a vehicle. The man I was engaged to, decided to drive me to the hospital. Hence, got lost. Anyways, we're driving on a dark highway. That was one of the things I remember. But through that process, through the time of being lost and everything, I had started to lose senses. So I started to lose the ability to hear. I started to lose the ability to speak. And well, eventually sight went too. But I mean, those were the main ones, which is why I couldn't call for help. And so we're in the car, and this he I think what happened was he recognized I was in serious health trouble. I think he recognized it because he was driving really fast, and there was a big exit that he took in a big curve, and he took it really, really fast. Of course, he was in a sports car, and the pain from that, the oh my gosh, it was beyond excruciating, beyond copability.
Pain where?
In my chest. Absolutely, but in my chest, but it was like through to the back. It was just horrendous, horrendous beyond horrendousness. At any rate, I presume I slumped over. I don't really know. He told me later I did. But anyways, the dash, I was looking at the dash and I was confused with, why is the dash so up close? Why can I see, the design in the leather? Why can the buttons even, everything was really up close. And it seemed like I was there for a while, but probably not, but what I noticed was this darkness coming, this darkness just coming. And there was this, as it moved very slowly, I'm still looking at the dash, but I'm noticing my peripheral visions going. And then as it slowly enclosed, I was just looking out of a very tiny little hole. Everything else was black. And was I fearful of dying? Sure, of course I was. I was fearful of dying. Absolutely, 100%. I didn't want to die, but that left fairly quickly. I didn't have this sitting with it. And there's this incredible level of calm that comes, it's almost like within and expands outward. It's like core star level. It's like deep on a soulful level. It's really hard to explain. It's like wisdom that came over me in an extreme calm. It was a calm like I have never known. And I can only liken it to a surrender. I knew I was in trouble. There was nothing I could do. There's no help anywhere. There's a black highway, and I'm now black, and all I'm seeing is this tiny little thing until it was gone. Totally gone. From there, I ended up in I called it the abyss, because I didn't really know what to call it. And people need to remember, I had no background whatsoever in any religious anythings. My father, my family, they were absolutely 100% not of religion whatsoever. None of us were baptized. None of us had any experiences like that. And so when he had told me, my father, when I was little, like 7.5, 7, when I had asked what happens when we die, he told me nothing. You live, you die, and that's it. So here I am now in the abyss. Okay. I still don't know exactly where I am or what's going on. However, that abyss was very, very calming. And I recognize most people will say, if you're in complete blackness, how can that be calming, right? But actually, there was a feel to it. It was palpable. There was, never mind the surrender, but you're floating. I was floating. It really was like floating in a very, very calm lake with nobody around, and you've got your eyes closed and you're kind of just floating in the water. It was very peaceful, very, very peaceful and calm. And of course, I was thankful that I was no longer in pain. That was yay. Thank goodness, for that. But I really needed to see how black is black. So I had put my hand in front of my face and I could not see my hand. Now, and I realized, it's like, okay, well, you're dead. You don't have a body, but you do have an energy body.
Mhm.
Not that I knew that at the time,
Mhm.
because I really wasn't clear on what was happening or where was I or what's going on. Did I know I was dead? No. And I know people have said to me, how could you not know you're dead? Well, when you know nothing, you don't know. You don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
And so as I'm there and it's peaceful and it's calming, the temperatures, everything's perfect. It's not like you're freezing. It's not like it's hot. It's not like you're suspended in this blackness. That's amazingly peaceful. That you can't see anything. It's like it's an eternity of black. You can't see anything. But as I was there for a little while, how long I couldn't tell you, there was a little spark of light that looked like way in the distance. And of course, I saw that immediately because when there's nothing else, you're going to see that. And so I did see that, and I've always been a very curious person, so I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I kind of watched it, and it grew, and it got bigger, and it got bigger. I was like, "Oh, what is that?" And what ended up transpiring from there, and it seemed fairly quick, was this tunnel, like ah, sort of like a vortex of energy swirling, and it had depth to it, depth of light. So yes, was it gray? Sure, it was dove gray and it's some darker gray, and it had massive sparks of light. It was beautiful, really. When when I sit back and think about it, I didn't know what that was, and next thing I knew, I'm in it, just like that. I'm in it. And it's a sensation of rising. It's a sensation. And okay, well, I'm starting to freak out a bit. Starting to freak out a bit. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. And because you're with your person, you're your personality. At this stage in sudden death, and you're still who you always have been. You haven't gone through the entire transition to just be the soul, the knowing soul. Okay, so I starfished myself because I wanted to stop myself from going up. So I moved my arms out so I could try and touch the sides and my legs as well. So I was a starfish, trying to stop this ascension process. I thought I could touch the sides. Oh, no, no, no. It expanded. When it expanded was when I really started to have a flip out. I had a complete flip out, actually.
So what did that look like?
My flip out, oh,
Yeah.
it was terror. And it was terror in the sense of a massive amount of fear because I had zero control and I'm moving in this thing that I don't even know what it is. Where am I going? Whereas the other place was just black and it was calm and it was peaceful. This is movement, and I have no control over it whatsoever. And that actually freaked me out. And the more it actually, as I ascended and had looked up and realized that it was much brighter when I looked up. It was much brighter there. And next thing I knew, I'm in that extraordinary light. And so much so that I did go like this. Um, Even when I was ascending, I'm swearing like it's what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't can like this, I don't like this, it was that type of freaking out. So when I was at the very, I don't know, you want to call it the top, you want to call it the place over yonder, perhaps, I'm in this intense light. And
The great yonder.
and so for anybody who's ever been to a game, maybe a soccer game, football game, whatever it happens to be, there's those big lights and they're really bright on the field when you're at a game at night. If you took the whole entire collection of all those lights and stacked them all on top of each other and then stood in front of them, maybe, I don't know, gosh, 600-700 feet, maybe, all you're seeing is that light. It's very, very intense. And that's when the people started to come. And at first, I didn't notice them coming from this light. I didn't notice them right away. I was kind of looking. I wasn't sure what was going on. until I started making out body forms. Now that freaked me out. And I'm watching them getting closer and closer and closer. And now I'm really realizing it's people. And this is the stage where I end up saying, like, back the blank up, stop. You know, I'm not very nice. I'm swearing like a trooper, and I'm telling him to get the f back, keep away from me. I don't know who they are, and then they stopped with the movement, but the front row kept coming. And I'm still saying, get the F away from me. You know, I'm not very nice at all, honestly. Until we get to this point where I start to recognize people. People that, you know, as a child, I only saw pictures, they were long past. Certainly my Aunt Alice and my Uncle Dick and my great grandmother and my great grandmother, and there's people. And I'm still telling them to blank off. Okay, I still am. Because I don't know what's happening. I don't understand what's happening.
Well, they're dead.
Exactly. They're dead, and like, they all there. So anyways, my great grandmother that I was really tight with, I was really close to, and she was very psychic, actually. And she picked that up in me at the time. I threw it away as I was older, you know, as a teen. But anyways, she stepped forward, and I always cry at this point.
Oh, feel free. This is a crying zone here. I'll tell you what. Yeah.
So she had said to me, Heather, you have died. And I'm like, what? How can that be possible? You know, always makes me cry.
Because you still feel like yourself.
Because you're yourself, you know, you really are yourself. And of course, I didn't want to be dead. I didn't want to be dead, you know, and I didn't want to accept that. I really didn't want to accept that. I couldn't accept that. And sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
And I really didn't want to be dead. I didn't want any part of that. And my whole thing, like when I fell to my knees and covered my face. And it was like, no, 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 that can't be, that can't be, that can't be. And you think, how could you have fallen to the floor when, like, what's the floor? You know, like, what's the floor? You know, and so never mind that being confusing. You know, I didn't want to be dead. I was sobbing at that stage. Yeah, sobbing, and she stepped back when this other light came, and the other light is different. It's a different frequency. There's the white light that has depth to it. It's not just pure white. You know, there's so much energy involved in it. There's so much frequency levels to it. It's dimensional, that white light.
Yeah, yeah.
This light was different in the sense of you just knew it was different. Sorry. Just collect myself for a moment.
Oh, take your time. I wish I could offer you a glass of water, but I can't figure out how I would do that.
Why do I have a Kleenex here?
Oh, anyway, I have some.
I just feel like that. So anyways, I really did recognize that, but I mean, I'm crumbled to the ground, to the floor, basically. I've got my head in my lap, you know. So it came up more to the side of me, and it was a different frequency, meaning it felt very different. Not that the white light wasn't comfortable and everything else, but I mean, I was in my, you know, F you all mode and keep away from me. So I didn't really have that opportunity. I didn't take the opportunity to settle down to really feel that light. This one I did. And that one was of a much higher frequency because you can really sense that. And it had, yes, the white light, but it also had some gold in it too. It was very different. And it was well, everybody says, and it's hard to really explain. Yes, you're absolutely enveloped in love. But what does that really mean for us down here? We don't really understand that level, you know. And so from there, it was being told that, I'm okay, you're okay, yes, you died, yes, I did. And I was enveloped in this almost embrace cradling of this energy of the most, I don't know, gosh, I don't even have the language for it, amazing support, of tranquility, of love, acceptance, all of it. No judgment, nothing. And then from there, being told that I was going to be okay, I was instantly ended near death in my life review. I went from that to life review, which was, again, it wasn't like watching something on a screen or a TV or anything like that. You're submersed in it. You are the bystander. You are the experiencer. You are the person who's even projecting. You're everything all at once. And it's beyond a 360 understanding because you're submersed in it. Every piece of you is part of your life review on every level you could ever possibly imagine. And so it's not just watching something, you're submersed in it. And this is where I was shown about our connection with people. I was shown energetically how we communicate with one another long before a word is spoken, long before.
Oh, do you mean like passing on the street? You're all okay.
All of it. So as energetically, we have our broadcast system, let's just say, almost like a radio station, sort of. And so within that are all our belief structures, our patterns, our thoughts, our feelings, our things that we dare not say to people is there. Everything's there. And so people pick it up like that. It's faster than sound. They pick it up immediately, and they know it. And sometimes, depending, I was also shown that when we're even going to an event, I don't know, let's say you're going to your family's and it's a barbecue, even if something as easy as that. Often enough, our energy arrives before we do.
I'm laughing. You don't know my family.
Well, whatever, even if it's like whatever it happens to be. I don't know, gosh, it could be anything. It could even be a meeting. It could even be work. It doesn't matter what it is. Often enough, our energy is projected before we even enter.
Oh, wow.
It's before we even get there, so I was shown that and how people pick it up. And so if you have, I don't know, maybe a dislike for somebody, they know it immediately. They know it through every fiber of their being. They know it. You don't have to utter a word. You really don't. Your energy tells them everything they need to know, even though it's subconscious to majority of us. All we know is, well, I don't know what's that person's problem. I don't know. But you haven't even had a conversation, right? So I mean, it's already there. They don't know why they're responding that way, and sometimes it's reflected back, right? So you're responding in a particular way, but you don't know why either. So it's almost like we're subconscious or sleeping at the wheel. We don't know this part. And so this went right down to friends. This went down to, oh gosh, a friend that you maybe had a really great relationship with, and on a soulful level, you fulfilled each other. And in the sense of being very supportive, because sometimes we have friendships, very supportive friendships, and then other friendships we have could be supportive and combative, supportive and combative, as certainly as little kids do. I was shown that as well. And when we're energetically communicating with each other, and also combine that with verbal, which is powerful. Verbal is very, very, very powerful. Verbal comes out in energy. It is something else to see. And the person picks it up through their auric field. They'll even take it and bring it inside. They can bring it in their heart center as an absolute truth. Some horrible thing maybe you said, or some loving thing you said, but eventually it will become part of their belief structure. So if you're young enough, and even siblings will do this to one another, siblings can be brutal with each other, right? They're absolutely brutal with each other, and say terrible, terrible things. But we take it on, we believe it's true, and it actually makes it as part of, I call it, we have our belief structure. Our main belief structure is multi-generational, is epigenetics, and all that stuff is involved in our main belief structures. But then we have adopted belief structures. Adopted belief structures are something different, which is what I was also shown with siblings and things that they say to us. We take it as truth, we adopt it. So that usually gets us guttural. So that'll usually will hold and store that within sometimes the pelvis and the stomach regions, because we adopt it. And other times, whoop, just left.
Did you know there was a little glitch, but you didn't go away?
No, I mean it just left my brain. Anyways.
Oh, I thought there was an actual glitch in the filming.
Really?
Okay. I'm curious. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So with that, going back to the energy and what we project, what we take on into belief structures. So to do with the adopted belief structures can be extraordinarily damaging. This is what we adopt with societal belief structures. So societal belief structures, with things like, what does it mean to be a girl? And what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a young man? What does it mean to be a man? So all that is being filtered in to our energy systems. And we decide somewhere along the line whether we're adopting that as fact or not. Sometimes, depending on who it's from, if it's from a mentor, we will adopt it. We will call it a truth, and we will believe it through and through, which can be quite damaging. Sometimes they're not the best mentors, but hey, sometimes they're teachers. The school system as well is part of our adopted belief structure. So I'm being shown really how the energy works, really how it gets broadcasted, absolutely 100% how we take it in. It's filtered information. And depending upon our own main belief structure is going to be dependent upon what we take in as truth about ourselves, especially, And so with my friend, we had like a love-hate relationship. We fought a lot, but we were also friends and we had good times, things like that. But as the observer, I got to see how the things I had said to her, or in fist fights, because we would be, on how she actually took that on, and how the energy, how it actually came into her, and anger, how that actually affects people, how she brought things right into her heart center, how she brought things and actually padded it in there into a belief structure. It was terribly sad to see. Sorry. Terribly sad to see.
Can I
Our
ask you something?
our effect on each other is enormous. Yeah.
You hear about life reviews and you
Yeah.
hear that it's done in a non-judgmental way, but did you find yourself judging yourself?
No, and it was not judgmental at all, and I didn't judge myself, but it, it was feeling the sorrow
You felt
for
their pain.
their pain that
Yeah.
you created upon and to another. You know, was like it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know that we are that powerful, extraordinary powerful. That's how we can really take somebody down energetically and verbally. We can take them down. Never mind all the rest of it that we do to each other, you know. We're very, very powerful. And so I was learning about that. I was learning on how it gets into the cellular levels, on how trauma and how unprocessed things that happen to us an emotional or mental psychological level, even that we don't have the tools to process. We don't have, sometimes we don't have the time because we're in survival mode. We just don't have the time. And so it's kind of like, I can't deal with this right now, and it gets placed somewhere and it sits. And how that ends up to affect the cellular levels, how that then works into the DNA. It was really quite, boy, that part of the near-death experience felt very, really in depth. It really was in depth. The other part that I had also learned about was the karma. And my biggest issue I had in life with how did I end up with such horrendous parents? How did that happen? You know, I, I had parents who were very young and very neglectful. And of course, they had all their own histrionics, history brought into everything, you know, with their own abuse history and everything else. And you're living it all compounded, you know,
Yeah.
in this life. And they, well, sometimes it was purposeful and other times it was not. And also with the karmic relationship. So the understanding that we choose the parents, we choose the siblings, we choose these things. Do we choose everything in life? No. But we do choose these things on who would be the hostess with the mostest, kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, things that on a soul level we really chose to finish, finish the karmic relationship. That's one of the things that we do come to do. Do we always manage it? No. You know, we don't always manage it, but that was
Well, that's why
my
you came. That's why you came back.
that's why I came back.
Anyway, right. Yeah.
So I had that understanding and how many lifetimes, you know, my mom and I had many, many, many lifetimes together.
Oh, good Lord.
Many, many, many. And at opposite ends. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes she was my child, sometimes I was, you know, her husband. Like there was all these things. And so I'm being shown this, but it's not just like viewing like people are going to view this video.
Right.
You're submersed in it. So you know it deeply, really deeply. It's undeniable. You know, and same with my siblings. Same with a brother that hadn't even been born yet. You know, karmic relationship with him.
Wait a minute. He was born after your near-death experience? Get out of here. Seriously?
Well, no, I lie. He was born, but I
Oh,
had
that's
never
bad
met him.
karma.
I had not met him yet. I hadn't met him
Wow. Wow.
because
Was he
I
little?
was, pardon me?
Was he little?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, very little.
Your
Oh
parents
yeah.
were young then.
My parents were very, very young. Yeah, very, very young, like teenagers. Yeah.
So
explains
when
many.
when you finally met him, was it like a knowing because you'd already met him?
Well, there was the knowing, but there was also because he was with one of my mom's other husbands. And so that husband was an horrid abuser in ways that we can't talk about here on YouTube.
No, I gotcha. Yeah.
And so when I did meet him, he was how old? Yeah, he was like, I don't know, 5. You know, it's little. And the only thing I could think of was because I reminded myself, he may look like him, but he is not him. Remember
The
that.
father, you mean, the
Yeah.
abuser. Yeah.
Yeah, he may look like him, but he's not him. So watch your projections, in other words, Heather, watch your projections, pay attention, So at any rate, and then even with a young girl, and I hadn't recognized it was one of my daughter's friends who I ended up caring for and raising. This was after my NDE, that there would be a child that I would help rear. All I knew is she had dark hair, and that's all I knew about her. It wasn't until it struck me one day of, hey, wait a minute, this is the kid. Eventually, and that it was going to be a hard relationship. Hard relationship. She came from a very, very bad background. Neglect, everything else.
Yeah.
And so she came to live with me. And, once no matter how hard something's going to be, if I've agreed to it, I will finish it. So, once we did her graduation and everything, and then I, said, okay, you can have this summer off, but after that, you either get a job and start paying rent, or, I can't just keep you. I just, financially I couldn't do it. So anyway, so that was that part as well. The other part was to do with extended family members, really, really important family members. So like my uncle, that stepfather, to be honest with you, that stepfather, we had a couple of lifetimes as well. And it was on a flip side.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And even so much so there was another lifetime that I killed him. Right? So yeah. So then we had
in
this
the past, right? Okay. Just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the past. Yep. So anyways, so I had looked at that differently as well, but did it make it easy? No, it doesn't make it easy. It just, the information is there now. So now what are you going to do with it, right? So that's what the choice is. So once I had done the life review in absolute depth, even understanding contractual agreements. So contractual agreements that we have with parents, contractual agreements with very significant people. It's not with everybody. It's not with everybody. Actually, even with Gary, who I'm with right now, was a contractual agreement. Yeah. And, it took us decades to finally re-find each other, but it's good. So even that point, very significant people. Sometimes a mentor will come across our path, but that they were meant to. They were really meant to. Not everybody. So there was that portion of it. There was the other understanding of our guides. Sometimes we'll have that agreement with a guide that they're going to be our lifetime guide in this life. In this life. And another time that possibly we were their guide in their life. And not everybody comes down here each and every time you die and you get processed and you do your healing and then you get shot right back out. That is not necessarily true. And it's not true for everybody. Not everybody has that same experience. The other thing was understanding the angelic realms, which I found really interesting because, of course, I never believed in angels. I didn't believe in any of it.
Yeah.
So there's frequencies, dimensionally. And Oh, the healing, the place of healing. So when a soul comes in, um, not everybody chooses to have a really hard life, by the way. Not everybody's choosing that. Some people are have come to experience other things like joy, very close families, even though we all have issues with, within family networks. But I mean, to actually really understand true support on a physical human level, love, that sort of thing. So not everybody chooses, horrendous lifetimes, because that's not true. Um, Going back to the place of healing, I mean, you can be there for a very, very long time, depending on how harsh your life was. And there's these healing places that are just full of color, frequency. It's like it's the energy, the color is like alive. It's so hard to explain, but it's magnificent colors that we don't even know of. We don't have that. Our eye actually cannot even capture some of these colors. So
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
have language
I've
for it.
heard that. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it
And
like
then
crystal? They talk about crystals have healing in their
there's,
colors and their energy. Are we on the same wavelength? Well,
yes,
pardon the pun, same wavelength with that. Yeah.
absolutely. Because these areas are, oh, it's hard to explain. They're sort of rooms, but not rooms. They're like, yes, they're crystals, but there's all that light energy. Um, that energy that's alive. There's also the healing areas of, it's kind of like healing waters or healing pools. There's that as well. Then there's yeah, it was almost like an auditorium. And to be really clear, I thought this was interesting, but anyways, it's marble. It's all white marble, with these beautiful columns and everything. But there was this auditorium where you could, I guess, once you've moved through your processing, and you've gone through your healing and everything on a soul level, you can come and you can share that lifetime experience that you had. Because some souls don't come down here very often. Other souls like me, I like to, come down many, many times and really, let's get to it, and check off so many boxes. Some of us have been here thousands of times. And then you have, the saying of, oh, you're an old soul. Well, what it actually means is you've had so many lifetimes. And within the soul energy is the wisdom. And so, you ever meet a child and it seems like, wow, they're just sort of like a wise old soul. Well, they are.
Well, I will interrupt you just to mention my oldest daughter when
Mm,
she was born, and I've been around a lot of newborns in my life, so
yeah.
this is no surprise to me. When she was born, the first thing my husband and I said, we looked at her and we went, "Oh my God, she's 90 years old." There
Yeah.
was this, and she still thinks she's the boss of everybody, Here she is in her
Mhm.
40s, and yes, she's a very wise person. It's obnoxious, but anyway. Yeah.
But that's also an old soul.
Mhm.
And then, like, I've said to people, it's not like there's new souls being created. And then you'll have people say, oh, well, they're just a really young soul. Well, it means that they haven't actually been here as many times to have the experiences that are
Right.
necessary, for our own evolution of understanding emotions, understanding this incredible sense of joy, or the yin and the yang, the real hard stuff. And then there's some good stuff, the ebb and flow of life, and how to self regulate, how to manage. Like, there's all that stuff we're learning, right, on a soul level. And so, I mean, that was explained to me as well. And then there was I never knew what to call it, but I understand, over the years, it's Akashic Records. I just called it a hall of records. You know, it was like a big, massive place of books. And some really ancient books, you know, for as high up as you could see, for as long down as you could see, books upon books, unbelievable, you know. And it was there that my book was opened. And what I found really interesting with that is because there was like a little running movie in there. And this is well before any Harry Potter stuff, okay? Just putting that out there. But it was kind of like a little money running movie of my life and this current life. Very, very short. And but there was lots of written material. Lots and lots and lots of it. Didn't stay there very long, was gone pretty quick from there. So I don't know. I know some people think I must know how to access the Akashic records. I don't. I honestly, I don't. You know, but at any rate, so there was that as well. Now I feel like I'm rambling, so ask me a question because I
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
how much of your own life were you allowed to see?
all of it.
To the end?
No, no, no. Like from babyhood through.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you
No.
weren't allowed to see into your future
Oh no,
because that's
no.
damaging, right? That's detrimental.
Well, plus it can alter. You can choose, "Oh,
Right.
wait a
Yeah.
minute, oh, yeah, I saw that. I don't want that lesson. I changed my mind, so I'm not gonna go through that," you know, because no, no. It's kind of like, you know, when I saw all the wars, which was beyond beyond hard to watch,
Well,
and
wait a
that was
minute now. Wait a minute. You saw all of the wars? What are we talking about here?
past, we're talking ancient times. We're talking, you know, even Atlantean, but I won't get too far into that. But, you know, from being, you know, conquered people, the Roman Empire, the time of Egyptian Empire, just going all through that. Even before that, you know, where we're talking about spear throwing, like all that. So seeing the projection, seeing how the evolvement of man and all the ways that we murder each other and fighting for land, may it be food, it could be anything, religion, it could be anything, you know, all the way up to pretty much current where we are. And I know a lot of people would like to know, do I know what this outcome is going to be? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because as I was watching horrible wars, I'm talking First World War, Second World War, you know, all civil wars, like all these horrendous things, it was so incredibly brutal to watch. Um, I begged for them to stop. Yeah. I couldn't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Not
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, yeah, it's just too much. You know, with the same with all the fires, the you know, flooding, the mudslides, taking out whole entire towns, communities, just all of that as well. You know, sickness, like just all kinds of things. Did I see COVID? No, I did not. Didn't see COVID.
What year did this all happen for you?
93.
Oh, that's quite a while ago. I don't know why I thought it was more recent. Yeah, you didn't.
No, it just feels very recent. To me anyways, it feels
It feels
it's
recent for me too. I don't know why, but I get
mm,
this sense that it's an ongoing thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
When I say it,
after you saw the Akashic records and you saw your life review, and then what happened?
well, then it was of course the understanding of, you know, the different places a soul will go. And that's in accordance to our frequency. That's in accordance to our evolution of understanding on a soul level.
Hmm.
So you're not going to have for lack of better words, a level 4 frequency soul, being, you know, living communal whatever, as part of the consciousness of third level. Same with fifth, sixth, seventh, you know, and then of course you're getting into the lower angelic realms, of course, you know, but we're not all just massed together. So if you're on a level 4 or 5 frequency and that mass consciousness, you're part of it.
Mhm.
The mass consciousness, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, I had no idea that there were even specific levels depending upon what your frequency rate is. But I mean, if
Right.
I, you know, it was until later when I really understood energy overall.
Yeah.
Sure, of course, it made sense. But at the time, I was just in awe of that. I was shown, and it's fast. It's like information is just suddenly provided, or you're just suddenly shown something. You can be taken somewhere and shown something so quickly that this is the universe. Well, this is the Crystal City, and um, this is a mode of transportation. I call them wormholes. I don't know. I don't really have a language for them, to be honest with you. You know, some places it was just immediate there, and other places it was kind of like going through something. A lot of
Mhm.
colors were moving by.
Mhm.
It almost felt like on a frequency level, I really didn't think I was going to live to the end of wherever it was I was going. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of bumpy, but when I got to
But
the,
you were already dead, so.
I know, but I mean, it was tilting, right? So, but getting to the Crystal City, which, oh yes, well beyond beautiful. That's hardly even a good word to describe it. You know, it had this beautiful, again, colors. They were like clear crystal. And so they had so many different frequencies moving about each, I don't know, sort of like building like this, you know? But I wasn't very close to it. How far? Oh, I don't know. I wasn't in the city. I was on the outskirts of the city when I was embraced by somebody that I obviously knew. I could not see their face or anything, but they did give me a hug and I hugged them back. I don't know who they were, but obviously I knew this place. They knew me really well, and it was a nice, warm, loving embrace. And of course, I knew I wasn't staying because they said, okay, we'll let you go now. And gone. You know, I'm back to that intense multidimensional white light, and I've got also, I don't know, supreme being. I don't really know what to call this other form of consciousness. Many people would probably describe that as God, source. I don't know. It's not even like I asked. But I was told that I wasn't actually going to be coming back here. I wasn't going to be coming back here. I had asked to come back here because I really wanted to finish all that karmic stuff I was shown. And I
Oh, wait a
also,
minute. I'm
sorry,
sorry. You weren't supposed to come back to Earth.
no,
Oh, I thought you were talking still about the Crystal
sorry,
City.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, no, no. It's my mistake. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I had left there. It was very quick. Everything was fast, you know, and I wasn't going to be coming back, but through this conversation with this God, Christ, like I don't really know other than you know that they are a much higher energy, all knowing. Yeah, quite unbelievable actually. They're the all. And I'm having this conversation with, I wasn't going to be coming back. I won't be coming back. And I begged to come back. I was told that if I came back, if I really did come back, that I would be in tremendous pain, that there would be things that I would not be able to heal, that I was going to continue with through the remainder of my life, and that I had to really understand that, really on a true level of understanding that when I come back, it was going to be really, really hard on a health level. Never mind all the other stuff, you know. And I said, but I need to come back. I really need. I didn't get to be here very long. I didn't get to be there long, right? I I have so much more to learn. I have so much I want to do, I to experience, and I want to finish. My whole thing that I kept repeating over and over again is I need to finish. I need to finish. I want to finish. I want
Did you
to.
think about your daughter?
Not while I was there, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Painful to say. Painful to say.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe did you know on some level that she would be okay, or that wasn't your primary mission, or
No, I can't consciously say I've felt that she was going to be okay. I can't consciously say that. Mine was the process of leading up to the dying that I was really concerned about her.
Oh, right.
But after all that and everything that, I mean, honestly, my attention was just taken with so many other things.
You were a little distracted. Is that what
a little bit. I did not, I did not. And I didn't say I want to finish, raising. And I didn't say any of that. I just wanted to finish this life. And then it was further explained to me, then there was going to be multitudes of healing. You're going to have to heal emotionally. You're going to have to all these different levels, and how everything in my life had affected my physical body. And never mind this, having all the heart attacks and having
Right.
the PEs and pardon me, that was going to be tremendous. But I felt that with the education I had received over there, that I had a chance to heal some of these things. Not all of them, and I knew that full well. I really did. I knew that full well. And by time I made that decision, and no, I do want to do it. I choose to, I want to come back. There's also the understanding that not everybody can come back because the physical body is just far too damaged. Even if they wanted to come back to finish, they cannot. They cannot. I also learned, and I forgot to say this, of course, there's no judgment whatsoever, honestly, truly. Absolutely nothing. Everything that was shown to me was through peace and love and understanding. And I mean, it really beyond amazing. There's also, we have different exits in our agreements, exit points to leave this lifetime. And not everybody, even if they've been close, that they chose, oh, no, I don't want to have that exit point. I'm going to stay a little bit longer, so we do have other exit points. I know somewhere I had heard somebody say, oh, we have up to 5. There's no real set number.
Yeah.
There isn't a set number. I know that I had other exits that I had chose not to take. I do know that, there was 2 other possibilities. And then even after this near-death experience, there was another very brief near-death experience 2 years later.
And did you, when you realized you were shown that there had been other exits, did you know the specifics of what they might have been? Like, oh, I could have been in a car accident and that you did.
Yeah.
Oh, how interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
I did know there was an exit point that I could have had, except there was an intervention when I was 5. so I had been kidnapped and the people had wanted to kill me, it was one of those situations. And there was an intervention that they ended up fighting amongst themselves. One of the people said, "If you want to live, run." Well, hell, I did. They
Who
were
intervened? An actual human being or like spiritual intervention?
spiritual. It was spiritual. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it was spiritual. And then there was another possible exit point of how would I explain that? I was with somebody, some young guy. I was young. I was 16.
Oh, you were with somebody? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I was about 16, and next thing we knew, there was a car full of a gang, and all these guns came out. All these guns came out, and they were going to shoot me because through association. But I had recognized some of them from our youth, our real youth, like we were little kids,
Kids, yeah.
all playing together. So I'm talking about 11, 12, 13, and I actually turned and I said, "Hey," and I named 3 of them. You know me, and I have nothing to do with blank and that blank stuff. And it was in succession with this kingpin, we'll call him, who had a gun pointed right at me. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I just have to make this general observation. You've had a way more interesting life than I have. It's remarkable. Okay, so I want you to really get the whole story out there. People were so mad at me. I'm still scared. I really want you to really get to the whole story.
Yeah. So once there was the decision made that my understanding was clear, that I was coming back. I'll tell you, once that decision is made, you can't even blink fast enough till you're back.
Oh, really? That's soon.
Immediate. It's so immediate, and it's like boom.
No goodbye party, no lingering goodbyes.
No lingering, no hugs, no farewell. No, truly none of that. None of that. It was instant, instant pain, instant in hospital. Oh my gosh. It starts to get a little blurry because I'm in and out of consciousness.
Medication too.
Yeah, hospital, ICU. I remember at one point, surrounding my bed was a bunch of doctors. A bunch of doctors. I know that over on the other side was my permanent day nurse, and then I had a permanent night nurse, whatever. And I was told that there was a pulmonary specialist who was flown in from Seattle a la helicopter onto the roof of the hospital. And I woke up and looking at all these doctors all around me. I guess they were talking about me. They had their clipboards, and he had said, I looked and I smiled. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you're awake and you're smiling even after all that. Do you have any idea that you are a miracle?"
Oh man.
I thought, yeah, but I have a secret. I have a secret, and I was not telling, but I had a secret. And so I had just smiled. And he did say that it was something that was going to be studied in the whatever medical journal, blah, blahs. He said, "You're
Your recovery from the pulmonary emboli. Now, were you in Vancouver?
I was, it happened in Vancouver. I was in Vancouver Hospital and in Langley Hospital, 2 hospitals, but overall it was a series. On the 31st day, I was released.
You're kidding.
No,
Wow.
it was a long time.
No,
Long.
I think that's remarkably short for what you went through.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
It was a long time.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
had pulmonary emboli and heart attacks, you had, circulatory and respiratory issues that
Oh, yeah.
I would think, well, that's just remarkable. Yeah.
Well, they had, they would take me to have, it was the nuclear medicine division of the hospital. I remember being wheeled there in my bed and kind of read the thing. And I don't really remember the test, to be honest with you. But anyways, then they wheeled me out. I guess it was to make sure that they got everything they needed to get to see. And the 2 gentlemen came out and they had said, "We actually had to come and see you to make sure that it's really true that this person is alive and that this is not something we've ever seen before. We just wanted to really see you."
It's really a remarkable story, just as far as the physical thing that you
Yeah,
went through. So they took you to nuclear medicine. They pump you full of radioactive stuff so they can actually watch your circulation working. All the
right.
little sparkly things you get to see, it really is astounding. But that's
Oh,
how
is
they
it?
can see,
Yeah.
is there a blockage and a little tiny circulation, capillaries, are they working? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. Wow.
Well,
Wow. Wow.
they had somehow, well, of course, I guess it goes through the lungs
Mhm.
because they were able to see the pulmonary emboli. Uh, there was 9, but they were massive. They had never seen anything so massive, and certainly the last biggest one is really overall what killed me. It was really quite larger than the other ones, but they were kind of like a loonie, but I don't think a loonie is as big as your 50-cent piece, but each was about that size, except for the biggest one was bigger than
Between
that.
the size of $1.50, kind of in that realm. A
Um,
quarter is a silver coin about this big.
Yeah, ours is a loonie, so that was
Yeah.
bigger than a quarter.
Yeah.
So yeah, they said 8 of those, and then there was one larger than that.
Yeah, you have to know that when people have blood clots that kill them,
They're
and
tiny.
they're like the head of a pin.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Heather,
Well,
what a
and
story.
I didn't know, and I mean, it was exhausting. People need to understand that too. I mean, they're talking to me, but I'm just so tired. Like I'm listening, but it's like, okay, now I really have to have a nap.
Well, you
So
need oxygen to feel like you're alive, and if your
yeah.
circulation is that impaired, it is
Mm,
exhausting. Of course it is.
yeah.
So you were released after approximately a month. Who's the first person you told this story to?
Uh, the very first person was probably the guy I was with, a teeny piece. It wasn't received very well, so I was quiet. I just stopped.
How come that doesn't surprise me?
Yeah, well, right. So, I was a tester to see my delivery and everything in life. I should I say this? How much should I say? How much should I divulge? So I was used to that kind of lifestyle, and so I was cautious. And once I received the can't deal with it in the one sentence, that was it. And of course, his guilt was enormous.
Well, yeah.
So he was a major A. And I wasn't allowed to fly, so there was extreme instructions on how to get home because don't forget, I was on vacation,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Remind me not to plan a vacation with you.
I can imagine it's been good. So anyways, so I mean, I had a 2-week vacation from my job, and this is 31 days later. Never mind the what 5 days prior to that, because of the drive out and visit. Yeah, yeah. So I was gone for a while, and so by the time I got home, which took a very very long time because could only drive for, as the doctors had stated, for about an hour and a half. Then you got to get out to
Yeah,
work.
got to move
You know,
around.
yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, it's a 16+ hour drive straight. It took forever. Yeah, it took forever. And then once I got back, I did try to mention it to my mom. That was not well received at all. Same thing. She told me that I had best shut up, or
Really?
yeah, or they were, next thing I knew, I was going to be in a padded room if So I didn't talk about it. I was quiet about it. Then the next person was my future mother-in-law, and that didn't go over very well at all. That did not. She told me that oh, you just fell asleep unconscious. Oh, heck no. So that was the end of that. Who else? Well, of course, and I had to go and see doctors. I had so many doctors, so many specialists. That alone was exhausting. There was my neurologist that I did tell, and of course, he was the one.
He believed you?
Yeah,
I bet
yeah,
you're not the first person he's heard this story from.
right, exactly. He actually just retired. So he had been with me for a very long time. Yeah, he retired just last June, the end of June.
Did
He
he
came.
share with you that he has heard this from other people?
No, he just said to me, I absolutely believe you. Because he knew he was also around that. I mean, I had brain trauma.
Yeah.
So that's why he was my neurologist.
Yeah.
And there was some, neuroplasticity that was happening, but not 100%, not 100%. You know, uh, I had a lot of trouble, expressing myself. Till this day, it happens. Till this day, it will happen. I will just suddenly, I can't find the word.
Yeah.
It's just absolute blank. It's very frustrating. I used to
Yeah.
get really upset about it, especially when I was out working, and had my other careers. But he would say, just find the small word, Heather. And I'd say, well, that's all very nice, but sometimes I can't find a small word. So it just stops the whole entire conversation unless somebody can word find for me. So my daughter got really good at word finding because she was so young, that I was having trouble. So she would say, oh, does it sound like? And so
That's so cute.
she would say the word,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, the family, absolutely not. All my friends, I had two very, very, very close friends. I tried that too, and it was a no-go. So I really was by myself with it for quite some
I'm so
time until.
sorry to hear that because to me, this is one of the paradigm shifting experiences of a lifetime that few of us are lucky enough to have. And
Mhm.
you are a messenger of that. How could people not listen? I mean, my mind is blown that people would refuse to listen.
Because they found it scary. I found my friends, well, they couldn't relate because they were anywhere from 25 to early 30s. The relatability was at a zero. Never mind the fact that I couldn't, it took me so long. I didn't have my health. So
Yeah.
it took so long to get my health together. So, I mean, they all dropped off by the wayside. Relatability wasn't there whatsoever. It's the same with my family. Relatability wasn't there. Um, fear of even talking about death. There's so much fear that my family had to even
Mhm.
discuss it, never
Yeah.
mind, something like that. I even tried my aunt. Which was interesting about my aunt is she had a near-death experience because I remember at one point in time she had told me about it, and this is years later. She was young when she had it, and I had reminded her about it, and then she denied it. She said it never
Hmm.
happened. And I said, wait a minute, wait a minute. She was involved in a motorcycle accident. And she said she had remembered hovering over her body. She didn't do a tunnel or anything, but I mean, still, that was
No,
big.
yeah, out of
Yeah,
body experience. Yeah.
yeah, but she said, oh no, 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 no. And so I just, was quiet with her too. It was just no point. Yeah. So, anyways, with after that, I ended up, I had no career anymore. I had no way to
Mhm.
have income. I uh, kept, well, just to get through every day was just really hard. I know it was really hard on my daughter. Never mind the trauma of seeing what, she saw in the hospital. But even after that, because she was just a little kid, and to see that life was so different. We weren't hiking, we weren't trekking, we weren't skiing, we weren't doing any of it. I mean, I was even lucky if I could walk to the corner, so none of it was happening. We weren't playing games anymore. Like, I just didn't have any energy, and that had gone on for a few years, just like that.
But if you
Just like
and if you had neurological damage, that impacts your ability to do so many basic functions of the brain, like logic and processing, and that the simplest things are over. It's not a matter of physical tiredness, it's trying to get the brain to coordinate and work. You're not
well,
even
it was.
aware of these processes usually.
Yeah, we're not really aware. And plus, it was because in my vascular system, there was so much damage. Um, there was problems with the valves from the car accident with my legs, which they finally discovered. But there was also, I had problems with my heart.
Mhm.
The electric communication between my heart, my brain, and my brain and my heart were off, completely off. And so sometimes it wasn't beating, and then it
Yeah,
would just boom, boom, boom to catch up.
yeah.
Um, they had then also discovered that I had a hole in my heart, um, patent fomal ovale. It's that when you're born, it's supposed to
Oh,
close all the
yeah.
chambers.
A
Yeah,
patent ductus. Yeah, it's like a blue baby.
right. And so mine was wide open. So they never really knew how that didn't just go straight to my brain, the blood clots. If it could have gone anywhere sort of safe, it's the lungs. Because if it goes to the brain,
Just the whole story is just completely mind-boggling. So,
yeah,
who was the first person? Well, I guess the neurologist, but like somebody close to you, nobody close to you ever. Oh, Heather, I'm sorry. That's terrible.
it was about 5 years later. I had finally met somebody. I was introduced by one of my friends because she had decided to learn a bit about meditation. And she told me about this lady who lived not too far from us. I mean, still was a drive. I wasn't driving. Anyways, I met her, and she had had two NDEs, and she had abilities, and she started to work with me. I got to talk to her about it. She said, things that I could relate to. Because she said, "You were blown wide open. You've
Mhm.
got everything happening all at one time, and how are you managing?" Well, I wasn't managing very well in many things, but at least now I found somebody I could talk about it. I could
Yeah.
talk to,
Yeah.
and try and understand some of the things that I was even seeing. I think one of the most interesting things was when I first recognized how everything vibrates, all the atoms that keep things together, they're always bouncing, may it be a
Yep.
cup, may it be a toothbrush, doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
That was really something when I would look around, and I was always at amazement with that. And people would say, "What the blank are you looking at?" I'm just watching the movement, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you specifically, people who have these experiences almost inevitably come back with gifts.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's one of them is you were seeing the frequencies, the vibrations. Everything's held together by vibration. It's just about speed, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah,
The slower,
absolutely.
the denser, right?
Yeah.
So you were lifted up a little bit in the sense of your vibrations were faster, were sped up, right? So are you, or do you now have things like, can you see auras? Are you more telepathic? Do you have sense about people?
Yeah. All
If
of
you
it.
say all the above, I'm going to be
I
jealous.
was going to say all of it. You know, there were some things that I had to shelve because it was just too much, because it was really everything.
Like what? What did you shelve?
I shelved actually hearing people. There was this woman who was kidnapped in the city. I live so like 100 miles away from the city. Okay, I'm far. I'm way out in the boonies. And she was kidnapped, and I remembered seeing it on the news, and I thought, oh my gosh. And it was that night, her calling for help and crying is all I could hear. And I didn't know where she was, and I was desperately trying to figure out where she was, but I'm new to everything, and I didn't know how to ask, or I didn't know any of that, you know, and I knew she wasn't too far from me, and that's what drove me bananas. And this is when I did say to my husband, I said, she's alive, but if I don't find her soon, she won't be
Won't
alive.
be. Yeah.
She won't be. And so I would go out trekking because I knew that she was in an abandoned old homestead place, and that in a tree was a very old handmade birdhouse that was dilapidated and everything, right? And so that's what I was looking for, but I couldn't find her. And then I think it was about 4 days, and then it was silent. And my guilt from it was huge that I couldn't find her. You know. So it was that situation. It was serial killers, that situation. um Being shown them, being shown what they're doing, having um ideas of where they were, like, i.e. they're in the States, they're on the West Coast, they're you know, but I wouldn't get anything else. And I would dream of them, what they were doing, and then they would tell me things that they were doing and why, and it was too much. I couldn't deal with it. And I didn't know. I did call that mentor, and I said to her, I said, I need to tell the police. And I can't remember. I remember him being captured, and it was in the 90s. Gosh, 99, 98, in around there. I don't know if he was called the Green River Killer. I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah, yeah. Gary.
And I,
What's his name?
I I drew him out. At the time, I was on this chat site called Pal Talk. I was desperate to find people who could maybe help me do something about it, and I couldn't. And then this one night, on the news, I was just coming into the living room with a cup of tea, and I almost dropped my cup because there he was on TV. It was the exact same guy. And if I could have, you know, had more information where he was traveling a lot, but anyways, more
Yeah.
information than I could have, you know. And then my point was, stop showing me this. Either you give me all the information or give me none. Don't give me pieces, because I don't know what to do with it other than it's traumatic. right? It's traumatic.
Yeah, that's not you probably already know this, but that's not an uncommon experience of people who have psychic ability when it's not something, it's something new, they haven't developed it.
Yeah,
Knowing how to go about getting the kind of guidance that you need to be able to direct it and focus and really use it usefully, it
yeah,
requires a special kind of like a teacher, somebody who can guide you through it.
mm,
Uh,
yeah,
it's not. I know that's small consolation, but it's not your fault that you've got these wild skills that you haven't learned how to focus in on. It's
yeah.
just the situation you've been handed. So, do you hear people? I don't know. Do I not want to run into you in a party when I'm being snarky in my head? Is that what you're saying? Are you pretty good at figuring out
I will
people?
know. I will know. But here's
Yeah.
the thing. I don't take it personally.
Well,
Every
it doesn't
and
have to be about you, but
no, it
if
doesn't have
they're
to be
thinking about
about me
other people.
or anything else, but I mean, what people don't know, they don't know, and it's none of my business. And that took me a long time to get a better handle on, to not
Mhm,
see everything
mhm.
with somebody's life. I mean, even if I was standing at in the queue at the grocery store, and I've got somebody in front of me and somebody behind me, but I'm seeing little running movies of what they did that morning. I don't want to know that.
That's remarkable. I don't have anywhere near, I mean, not even remotely like that, but get feelings about people. And I've been in the
Yeah.
grocery store where I've actually gotten out of line and left the store because somebody gave me the creeps. Four people behind me that I hadn't even seen yet. And I was like, oh God, isn't that weird? And I
No.
think you have a far more tuned version of that. That can be very
Yeah.
useful.
Well, it can be very, very useful for sure. I mean, you could even be driving down the highway. This has happened so many times where you pass a vehicle and it's like, "Ooh, oh,
Mm-hmm.
boy, that person's really, really angry. They have a lot of rage or like whatever, or they're depressed or like whatever it happens to be, it just that quick drive by. It's like, whoo. Or, old abandoned places.
Yeah, the energy lingers.
The
Does
energy.
it help you to make to be discerning about, I'll just say, I don't need answers, specific answers, but current events, does it help you to be discerning about when you are hearing a true thing or not, or who could be trusted or not trusted on a large scale? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
that's nice.
Um, yeah, because I know Gary will, will be watching the news, whatever, something. And
To speak it loosely, the news,
something, and I'll say, "Oh, that's a lie. Oh, oh." I said,
You
"Oh,
know who
oh."
that happened for me? This is really very funny. Do you know that Murdoch story, the lawyer who ended up in the South, and this is a fairly recent story that happened in the United States, and it's real popular on true crime right now. And the whole
Mm,
story kind of came to the surface when he called up 911 and said, "I'm on the side of the road, country road, and I've been shot." And the story was he got out of the car because he had a bad tire and somebody pulled
mm.
over and tried to rob. I don't know. Just that little tiny bit of a story. I turned to my husband and I said, this guy's full of it. They're going
Yeah.
to find out this guy is up to all kinds of no
Oh,
good. Turns out he's probably responsible for about 5 murders and
oh yeah.
take embezzling at work and insurance fraud. And oh my God. But that's similar, right?
Well, it is. I'll tell you something. It wasn't really easy because I was in politics, right? That was my last career, politics and the executive director of senior housing for the province. Anyways, um, and I know these counselors. I was the mayor. So these counselors would wonder how I knew the things I knew. But I couldn't just say I knew. I had to gather the information to back it up with proof. And it was very disturbing for them because, I mean, some things were quite fraudulent. And I was a whistleblower. And that was why I got into politics to begin with, was one to help the community, but for the taxpayer, because you're voted in by the taxpayer. That's who you work for. And people seem to forget it, you know.
This
They
is a
forget.
great premise for a TV show. The
Yeah.
psychic whistleblower who enters politics. Isn't
Right?
that'd be fabulous? Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So yeah. So anyways, there was so much to deal with, and it was because I would get things and would be like, oh gosh, is that? Oh my gosh, I have to look into that. You know, theft, and I won't say with what, or you know,
Yeah,
but
cheating, tax
yeah.
cheating and cheating, and yeah.
So that was a deep dive of 6 months of my research, because I really had to have all the ducks in the row before I brought it forward. And there was a lot there. There was also, because I was on the Economic Development Board as well as the chair, and you're responsible for things. And so there was a person who, this was done on a grant. Okay, so I don't care. You may get a grant, but that's taxpayer money.
Mhm.
So I recognized there were problems in the financial statements, and I got that this person who was hired by the board to do specific things was actually he was educating himself with the taxpayers' money to progress for his future of something else. And I was even told what university he was going to.
Oh my God. But you cannot approach the authorities and say, well, I got the information from the Akashic records.
Right?
That's
So I
amazing.
actually connected with the university because there's public information, and that he was a student, and he took these courses.
Wow.
And so I gathered all that information and brought it to the board for an emergency meeting without this person first. So there were 9 board members. And so I gave everybody their package, and we had to look at everything and then bring the person in.
God.
And yeah, anyways, it was quite the 4-year term. It was quite the 4-year term.
Wow. How
And it was
shocked is he?
horrendously shocked. He couldn't even believe where the information came from. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, because staring at it black and white, right? Yeah. So anyways, yeah, so that, you know, it was very stressful. I'm not gonna lie. It was for change. My whole platform was about change and about, you know, people. And honestly, it was really for the whole entire community, the town. It was to rise up, you know, for everybody to rise. And probably before politics was ready for somebody like me, I really was the only one. And even though we met with all the other council members and mayors and the members of parliament, and I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You know, you meet everybody and you have soirees and stuff. And when you're the only one who can really see the problems and how like it's almost like a veil comes over people once they come in, maybe a year later, they get sucked into all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that entirely. And so was your campaign slogan, I know the devil made you do it? I think that's, but you're such an example of the way that an experience like this can have this energetic ripple effect on the larger community. Most of us would not be in a position to really extend it that broadly. You know, it would affect our personal lives, but how great that you had that opportunity. Good for you. It's not easy.
Thank you. No, it was very hard. It was very, very hard. And to be honest with you, because I sat on 26 boards at that time as well. And the burnout I had after that was just horrendous, horrendous. And I always have to watch that about myself, that I take on too much for the good of whatever it happens. You know, I'm one of those people. I
Well,
really am.
there's worse motivations.
There is.
Can I ask you a couple of questions now? I think I have scar tissue on my tongue from not. It goes totally against my
That's okay, I get it.
Not talk. So I do have some questions. I wanted to make a remark about something you said, that you thought it was so interesting that this building with the books that went all the way up, you know, while you were in your near-death experience was marble. And I immediately thought, well, I've heard this story before. I've heard an exact same description before. Dolores Cannon has regressed people who said exactly the same thing. And it occurred to me then, yeah, oh, if you haven't, I've synopsized most of her books. Help Yourself. They're on my channel.
You can, my gosh. No, I didn't know that.
She did regressive hypnotherapy.
I wanted to be regressed by her, and then she passed away.
Her daughter
so by the time I realized who or how or somebody that I could connect with.
Her daughter, Julie. Her daughter, Julie, who I've had on my channel. Maybe I can get you guys.
I don't know if Julie's actually doing it. I went to the website and everything, and I was looking at, she does a lot of talking, but I don't know if she's still doing
She'd know somebody. She'd know somebody.
Okay.
She could connect you.
Yeah. I would actually really like that.
But you know what it struck me as? You know, as even our DNA has crystals, and crystals, larger crystals, contain mathematical formulae.
They do.
And information.
Yes.
And it's all about the sacred geometry of them.
Yes.
Marble is like a crystal. And so there, like, you get my point. Yeah. Yeah. I have a big question for you that I have a feeling a lot of people would be asking you, and I think you probably have some insight about this. This relationship between us and what we call ETs.
Yeah. So the relationship. So here's the thing that I always, oh gosh, probably, I have to back that up. Hang on a sec. So my second NDE, my second one, very brief.
Wait a minute. Your second near-death experience?
Yeah, it was just really, really short. There's not a whole lot to tell.
Oh, just a baby one, kind of a minor one, related to the same physical.
Yeah, it was just
You're so casual about it.
Oh gosh. So I was in the hospital again, and that was it was almost a month. But anyways,
related to the pulmonary emboli again, clotting. Yeah. Yeah.
I fell, and I ended up with deep vein thrombosis, but I knew it this time, and so I had I went to the hospital, and it was like a small community hospital. You know, 10,000.
Oh,
whatever.
yes, I know.
Yeah.
I do know.
Yes. So I went because I had that horrendous Charlie horse again. And even to touch the skin was terribly painful. But I don't show all the normal things that they teach them in school.
Yeah, like not red and hot. And
no.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
None of that. It's not swollen. It's one leg's not going to be bigger than the other, and not going to show any of that stuff. And so I had gone into the hospital, and I said, look, I have vein thrombosis, because I knew it. I just really knew it, you know. Um, checked out my leg and everything, and they said, well, you would be in tremendous pain. I said, well, I am. That's what got me here. You know, I had a friend, and she had a little boy. It's just little boy, he's 3, and he accidentally touched my leg, and I almost went through the roof of the house. It was just unbelievable. So that's what got me to the hospital. And they said, no, you're fine. Go home. Okay. Well, they didn't want me, so I went home, did the night, and said, no, I have to go back. So this was a different doctor on call now. And I went to see that doctor, and he kept me in. He put me on, the word's gone, the anti-clotting,
Coumadin?
no, it's
No,
vascular, heparin.
heparin.
He put me on heparin right away. But I had said to him, be very careful with that, because when my body decides to let go, it's going to almost kill me.
You're going to hemorrhage. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, so I really have to be watched. Oh yeah. Okay. So, but at least I'm in the hospital now. I'm waiting for a deep vein thrombosis test. The
PTT, the blood
no,
test.
no, it's they do a special scan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anyway, so I was waiting for that, and the person who did that test had said to me, and they sent you home last night? I said, they sure did. And she said, oh my gosh, it must be this long that it would have killed you. And I said, well, good job we caught it now. So
was this one of those potential exit moments that you
it could
not?
Yes, it was, except I had a major intervention for that one.
Wow.
Anyways, the short end of the story would be, had said to the doctor, I think I was there, was 2 and some weeks, and I was right by the nurses' quarters, very noisy, lot going on. I couldn't sleep. And I said to him, I said, is there anything that we can do to help me sleep? Either like move me or like whatever. And he looked at his nurse, and I'll never forget this. He looked at her and he said, oh, she wants to sleep. Oh, we'll make sure you sleep all right. And I said, well, whatever you're doing, don't give me too much. I'm really sensitive to things. I don't know what he gave me. I really don't. I don't know what it was. It was an injection into my bag. I don't know what it was. And this is also the time where I wasn't being as checked as often as they probably should have been. And that evening, very early evening, past visiting hours, because I think that was up to 8 p.m. Anyways, I'm sort of trying to sleep, but I'm having a hell of a time with remembering to breathe. And so this shout, this scream would happen, and it would go, breathe, really loud. And I'd go, remembering to breathe. Oh yes, I have to remember to breathe. I have to remember to breathe. I was so weak, and I don't know. Am I in and out of sleeping? Maybe. Am I in and out of consciousness? I don't know.
No, they suppressed your respirations. They gave you too much.
Oh, okay. So
Holy
then
shit.
I'm seeing in my dream, maybe, or whatever's happening, a brain, an image of a brain in red with the alert, blinking red sign, exclamation marks. And I know it's serious in my dream. I know it's serious in my whatever state I'm in. I know it's really serious. I didn't even have, just to get my arm up to try and get the buzzer. I was too much. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, my brain, something's going to be happening with my brain. And it was around that time with the constant screaming of breathing, because I would forget to breathe. There was these beings that showed up, and they were all around my bed. There was at least 6 of them, maybe 7, but at least 6 I know for sure. And they were this magnificent glow of white.
White beings, yeah. I've heard about them before too.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So they said to me, help is coming. You'll be okay. Help is coming. And not long after they had said that, oh no, help is coming. We're getting you help. That's right, because they couldn't physically intervene, but that way. Anyways, the running of footsteps that you can hear, because, you know, those halls are long in the hospital. It was like a herd of elephants. And they said, here they are. And then they kind of dispersed out of the way, but still watched. And everybody's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. Somehow they pulled the IV. They did something with the IV that made all the blood squirt, because it was like very light, even less than water. But anyways, it was all over the drape. It was all over the nurses. It was just, you know, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm watching that. They're telling me, the light beings, that it's okay. So you're going to be okay. And I have faith in them. I really have faith in them. And then I've got somebody on the other side. They're squeezing vitamin K through my vascular system as fast as they could get it through. And I said to them, you tell me what's going on. Tell me what exactly is going on. And I've got somebody drawing blood now. They're squeezing, drawing, they're, you know, yeah, the whole 9 yards, checking my heart, all this stuff's going on. And I said to her, look, just tell me what exactly is going on. And she said, I can't tell you. And I said, you know, it's my body. This is my body, and I have a right to know what's going on. So I presume that I have been overdrugged with heparin and I'm about to die. Right? You know? And he looked at me and she went, mm-hmm.
And you know, she probably would get fired for, you know, it's a very awkward situation to be in.
Very awkward situation. And she said, mm-hmm, yeah. And I am basically, yeah, they were concerned that my organ, everything was just going to bleed right out. My brain, all my organ, absolutely everything. And it would be too late. So that's why everyone was freaking out, pumping several bags of vitamin K. And so she kept coming back every couple of minutes. And I put my hand on her hand because she's still freaking out, right? And I put my hand on her hand and I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be, don't worry. It's going to be okay. I'll come back I've been here before. Because I was in the other hospital, the first NDE, because it had happened a few times, you know, but not to this extent. Anyways, yeah, so the light beings, and eventually they told me to call them the White Brotherhood, because I didn't know if they were angels.
I've heard that before too, and I don't know if it was in Dolores Cannon book or some people I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
So ET is sure. As time rolled along, I had recognized that one of the sarcastic little guides had said to me, what do you think guides are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. You're basically confirming kind of my favorite thing to tell people. You've got physics on this end of the continuum and you have metaphysics over here, and boom, they're the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So yes, I mean, are there angels too? Yes. You know, I mean,
different plane, and totally different. It's the
oh,
Hermetic philosophy. They talk about this in enormous detail about different planes of energy and different. And I guess my other question for you, because you'd be the one who might know this. When you talk about, you describe old books in a marble building, and you describe crystal. How much of this is metaphor, and how much of this is an actual? I want to say three-dimensional, but I assume it would be more dimensions. But how much of it is physical, and how much of it is metaphor?
that's a really good question, actually. When I was there, I can only speak for my experience and when I was there. Um, everything was very physical, like it's like physical.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the marble, the feel, because I know when I was going past one of those columns, I touched it. You know, the books. Yeah, did I touch that book? Did I touch that gosh, it looks like an ancient table. I don't know. Did I touch that? Yes. Um there's the pre-planning place before you even come. Like that's a real place too, you
Or
know.
could it be a state of being, an energetic state of being?
Well, because as an energetic state of being, us, soul level, um, just the understanding is so much more, I guess. And so when I was being presented and shown all these places for myself, everything did feel very, very, very real for myself. Even the colors were real,
Mhm.
they were alive. It was more, everything was more real than it feels like to be alive here. And I think that's because it's so multi-sensory in a much more fantastical, which is not even a word, than where we are.
Well, the theory is, we're in this dream state. It's a limited, very few dimensional dream state, and that what you experienced is the real reality.
Yeah, because that's how it feels, way more real than this.
Well, Heather,
Information. Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. No, I was just going to say, like, you know, right down to receiving the information, any information that you have, knowledge, awareness, it's has a depth to it. It's not just because you read it, or it's not just because you heard it. You know, there's so much more to it. It's never mind fact, it's, you know, factual, but I mean, yeah, it's very hard to explain. I'm sorry, I can't.
No, it makes sense to me. It's, thought can manifest into reality, but it's not woohoo magic.
Yeah.
Thought is electromagnetic activity, and that's vibration.
It is.
And if it's moving at a certain speed, it's not manifest in reality, but as it comes out into it. To me, this seems logical. I don't necessarily have the vocabulary to adequately describe what I'm trying to
Yes.
say,
Yeah, it's
but I
very,
think
very hard.
you get it, right?
Oh, 100%, you know, because here's the thing, the interesting part of frequency, the lighter the tone, and what I mean by tone is color, the higher the frequency. The darker the color, so a deep moss green is going to be of a lower frequency than a very, very pale,
Like a
very
pastel
light,
line. Yeah.
very,
So
very
does that
light.
say something bad about a person who prefers richer colors? Because because
No,
I don't go for the pastels. If you're attracted to those deeper, lower vibratory colors, does that say
no,
something bad?
because that also means grounded.
Oh yeah. Taurus. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
gotcha. But I want to return just briefly. You don't need to go into it if you can't. I do spend a lot of time talking about UFO ET experiences and actually their connection to maybe mystical experiences and
Absolutely.
mythical experiences. So do you get the impression that we're dealing with an actual physical 3D from another planet in a vehicle and here they are, or is it a completely metaphysical thing, or is it both?
Ooh, that's a really big topic.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to keep you long. By the way, if you need to go, I understand. Like I
Yeah.
said, I have the afternoon off, so
Right. Well, I knew I was doing this long in advance, so I had my clients in the morning. So here's the thing. Yes, I have seen many, many beings, many, many different kinds. Some of low vibration, some of very high vibration, different dimensions from different dimensions. Travel in different ways. There are some, one in particular, that I do not like at all. I find them very aggressive. But I kept seeing them, and it was what I was told was I had to know. I had to know because when I came back, I had the life is all about rainbows and beauty and people's souls are magnificent, and yes they are, but there's the other side of things too, because you do have a yin and yang. And so when it comes even to, you've got your angels and your wonderful guides and everything, who are multidimensional, I will state, you also have lower beings. And there's a specific one that is underground, we'll call them. And they are, they're really not nice. They're really not nice. I call
so
them.
you worked in the government. Are they all in the government? Because I'll tell you what. Do you remember Paul Heller?
Oh, that sounds really familiar.
Canadian Minister of I think Minister of Defense. He was in the ministry for 3 different prime ministers. He was Paul Hellier. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. He
You
was
must have been with
really
Trudeau and them, right?
yeah.
Okay, I was still in high school. I wasn't watching a lot of politics at the time, but
But he lived to be really old. And I
yep.
mean, he only died recently, and he was
Mhm.
quite vocal in his older years. He came out and said, look, and of course, this is a respected
Yes.
global diplomat kind of guy, right?
He
He
was.
said, I
Yeah.
have sat at a table with the representatives of the Canadian government, representatives of the American government, and representatives of.
Yes.
So you
So
agree?
there's the galactic group. There's lots of groups. For myself, I called them the cosmic group that I had also met during my NDE. And I can go there for information. I did try to have some of my contractual agreement changed. I thought I'd give it a try, and I had gone to speak with them about it. Sometimes I'll go there for additional information about things. Pardon me. And they are beings from many, many different dimensions together. And so when he was talking about the Galactic Federation, which again is different from that cosmic group, is a much bigger group. I have not worked with them. I have not talked with them. Have not connected with them even. But I do know what he was talking about.
Yeah,
And
but
what
you're legitimizing the statement that he made. He wasn't, in the throes of dementia,
no,
and I never believed that he was.
no.
Edgar Mitchell talked about them.
Yes. Yes, and the Mitchell as well. I Mitchell, and here's the whole other thing because, of course, when I came back, and then there was all the information about the crystal skulls, and then the workings with the crystal skulls, and they would talk to me and tell me things. Like I could just go on and on here. I mean, really seriously. However, I mean, I drew out a long, probably in 2000. I drew out the formation of all the skulls when they do come together. So there's the master skull. And so there's this very, very specific formation. We haven't done it yet.
We're talking about, I know what you mean by the crystal skulls, but I'm trying to remember, are we talking like this is an Atlantean power thing?
Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Okay.
They're all over the world.
Yeah, a lot of them in Latin America. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all over the world, but they would talk to me and then show me where they were. It was all kind of funny, but there was a period of time where there was a release of a bringing in of frequency for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, when was that? My ex actually destroyed all my writings, so I don't have them.
Oh, for God's sake.
This could have been in 99. There was one. There was another one around 2005, 2006. But the big formation that's to happen for mankind is I'm only ever told, not yet, not yet, not yet. So I don't know exactly, and I haven't been told exactly what are we all waiting for, but that formation hasn't come to be yet.
Formation, can you define formation?
So the formation is all these skulls come together and they map out a very specific symbolic geometric pattern.
Like crop circles.
Sort of, but it's energetic, right? And so,
Right,
but they
right.
have to be placed in a very specific way. And then the master skull comes in, that sets the whole thing up energetically. Everything gets connected. And all that energy actually gets dispersed and raises the overall frequency of the planet.
But we're not talking about this. I'm going to assume now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not talking about this moment where, explosions and light shows and people. No, this is on a spiritual level, right?
Yeah. It's just I can't say it's just energy, but I mean it's energy. It's an energetic frequency to help us raise our frequencies as well in our consciousness.
Yeah, what are they waiting for? If ever we needed it, I can't think of a better time.
I know, and I've said that to myself. Oh my gosh, it still hasn't happened yet.
How much worth is it going to get?
The first time I ever knew of the crystal skulls, okay, this was before, because I'm so far out, I didn't know, we didn't have internet, we didn't have anything. There was nothing in the library. I mean, my gosh.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So I kept dreaming of this one crystal skull, but I didn't know it was the Mitchell skull, the main. Yeah. I didn't know.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. So anyway, I didn't know that. And every time I went to bed, and then this skull would be talking to me, and it was like bigger than life. And I started sleepwalking because I was searching for something. Sometimes, my daughter would wake up and I would have absolutely everything out of the cupboards under the sink and everything, and I'd be almost like completely in it. But for me, I thought I was in a cave looking for something really specific.
Wow.
And it happened night after night after night. Sometimes I'd wake up and I'd touch the wall and I'd say, no, you're actually in your bedroom. You are not in a cave.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So that started in 96, 97.
So are you
And then it just,
sleepwalking again? Because I'm giving you 3 years. You said 99 was the last most recent shift, possibly. So
that
are
was
you
that was the shift. No, I haven't been sleepwalking. No.
let me know. So let me ask you, I don't want to keep you all day. I
Sure.
want to, but I don't want people to not watch till the
Sure,
end,
of course. Yeah.
and I don't know how to edit. So we're
Oh.
stuck with
Oh,
what
so
we
the whole
have.
thing's going. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh well. I do have I have a million I mean, remember my page was blank? Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not going to torture you. I'm hoping if I ask nicely, maybe you'll come back someday. We can go into some of the messages that you got and some of the skills that you were given. But I guess my overall question is, you came out of all of this,
Yeah.
and it seems like you found your purpose, right?
Yeah.
But if you can, what was the one overriding important message or lesson that you came back with from it?
It really is that we are all absolutely connected. Never mind globally on a human level because we're here, but it's with everything. It's absolutely everything. It's with trees and it's everything on the planet. We're all part of this incredible environment, on such a deep, deep level.
Let me show you one of the last words I wrote down. Environment.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to ask you that. So you hit
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We are. And I don't, the other thing is we are so incredibly powerful. We don't recognize our own power. We don't recognize our own power to create change, starting with ourselves. I mean, I think it's really important that we get a PhD in us. PhD in us to understand and have greater awareness about ourselves, because then we change our frequency, and that's the ripple effect. That's the ripple effect,
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that from so many people who've had similar
Yeah,
experiences or just philosophic revelations.
yeah,
We're distracted, and I believe it's
very.
intentional. It's intentional.
And I think so too, if we could move past our spoon-fed, socially in many different ways, adopted belief structures about each other, we would be in a different place right now.
Yeah.
We really, really would be. And that I find painful that we have not shifted to there yet.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. How painful is it for you to look at what's going on in the world? And do you does the pain resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
With the mudslide that just happened, I said
Which
to Gary,
one?
this was, I think, the one in Brazil. It's
Brazil.
white.
I knew it was somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said to Gary, my life partner, and I said to him, I said, "Oh my gosh, these are the things that I still remember seeing."
It brings it back. It's kind of like a flashback.
It really, really is. It really, really is, and the civil wars, things that are going on, and it's like, yep, yep, here we are, and this is exactly where we are, and it's painful to watch. It's
Hmm.
painful to know that the environmental destruction is where it is,
It's terrifying.
right down to cloud seeding. I'm sorry, but it is a thing.
Let me ask you this. I feel like there is a concerted effort to hold down feminine energy, and I don't just mean women, I mean feminine energy. I feel like they're terrified of it for some reason, they, whoever they are. But
Well,
if you look at what's happening in the world, everything seems to be going away from the direction of compassion, and it's that. Go ahead.
well, yes, because if you can destroy compassion, if we don't have compassion, then we lose our connection to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
We lose that, and it's Sometimes I'm just driving and you could see it.
Well, you can see it.
Well,
I
like,
can't
okay,
see
you can
it.
sense it or feel it. I mean, and not only that, there's so much, people are very, very fearful, and people are very, very angry, and people are feeling a loss of hope. And
Tired,
so
yeah.
once that is, once you lose a sense of hope, then anything goes.
Well, I've been saying this a lot lately because I was reminded of it recently, and I think it's an important message. Pandora's box. We're talking about, oh, the lid is off the box now,
Yeah.
and the last thing to emerge from Pandora's box, hope.
Yeah.
So keep that, keep that in the forefront. Absolutely. And we have power over it.
We
Heather,
do.
I just feel such gratitude to you for not only this conversation, but for what you're doing, what you're bringing back. You could have, rested on your laurels, not, but you're not. And I'm glad you came back.
Thank you so very, very much. It really is an honor.
No, I mean, I'm glad you came back from your near-death experience.
Oh no, I get that, but it's an honor to be able to share. It really is, and anybody who can take anything from anything that I ever have to say, is to. I mean, we're all going to die. We're all going to die, and
We're all dying right now.
the process of it is very natural, but there's so much fear, and I don't know if it started in the late 19th century, but it's in around there, where this tremendous fear about death, and certainly as medical sciences and everything, advanced, and then of course all the well, oh my gosh, we shouldn't age and we can't age, and because that means
Well, that is fear of death. That absolutely is where that
yeah,
comes from. I
that
don't
that
know.
is,
For me, it's just I fear moving my furniture or rearranging my furniture. I don't like change, so it's that level of fear. It's not.
no,
I don't worry about heaven and hell. Not that stuff is stupid. But
yeah.
I just don't like. I like predictability. So I was thinking about that a lot when you were talking about the beginnings of the experience that you had. I would have been freaking out way sooner than you did because I'm not in control and I don't know what's going to happen next. Not a good situation for me in any context. So,
Yeah.
Kudos to you for keeping your cool about the whole thing pretty much.
Well, except for the rising of the tunnel. That was not good.
Except for the swearing and yelling at people.
I was quite rude with the people.
Oh, no. That's standard. Well, listen, people
Thank
are
you very much.
if you ever feel let down that people don't receive this, come look at my channel. People were ecstatic that you came and talked and we're dying to hear back from you. There are a lot of people hungry for this information. So keep doing what you're doing. It's necessary. It's so important.
Oh,
And
well, thank you.
and I'm hoping you'll come back.
I would love to come back because I feel really a great connection with you,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it's a wonderful platform. I feel very comfortable on your platform, and with when I had checked in every now and then, people were very kind and considerate and supportive, and I that's wonderful because some of these clips, people have taken clips and they've gone viral, but they've changed the clips somehow and made it kind of explosive.
I raised 5 teenage girls. Just come on, I will not tolerate that. Will not tolerate it.
Yeah.
We treat our honored guests with respect on this channel because I'm so grateful that you would give of your time and what you've learned. It's so important. So thank you very much. And look at this. I think this may very well be the longest conversation I've recorded at one time. So thank you everybody very much for watching.
Thank
and if
you,
you
everybody.
lasted all the way to the end, gold medal.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
hoping Heather will be back. So slán go foil.
I will.